good afternoon, depending on what part of the world you're in. I'm Jess Rydell, aka Ageless Jess, a sales success coach and author, and I'm here today with an exceptional treat for you. I have with me another one of my illustrious co-authors, Judith Junke. And Judith is actually a transformational coach. She lives in Germany. She's a business mentor for visionary female entrepreneurs. And I tell you what, I had the opportunity to reread Judith's chapter this morning, and what a work of art she has created. And this person, this individual in front of you today, has been through some things. And talk about alchemy and the ability to transform adversity into positives and into supporting other human beings with transcending trauma. That's really one of the main things that I took away from your chapter. Welcome, Judith. Welcome.
Thank you so much, Jess, for the lovely introduction and also for holding this format here. I find it wildly exciting to having all of us on here, the Leading with Light project overall. And it's a movement, we can say, right? Because it's continuing. It has been such a great journey, and it's such a beautiful way for us to share what is close to our heart, what our mission is, and what is our purpose that we express through our businesses and through what we do, right? Through the work. So I'm excited to be exchanging now with you, and let's talk a bit about that.
Yes, I can't wait to dive in here. Well, I'm going to just come right out and say it. Sister, you've been through some shit in your life. But okay,
that is
a Facebook. Sorry. Go ahead.
That is right. Yep, you nailed it exactly to the point. Yes. And those who've been following me maybe for a little while, I'm not holding back on that. It's not a centerpiece of what I'm talking about, but I'm openly sharing that I do have an abuse experience in my early childhood that really took several years. The thing is that it was so traumatizing, I didn't remember for a huge part of my life. And actually only about 3 years ago, the memory came back. So I spent most of my life feeling really confused who I was. And I didn't understand back then why I couldn't figure out what I wanted in life. And then obviously we have all of the trauma stuff going on, but that was a question that really accompanied me for a long, long time. And that is also why I opened up with that question, because I know a lot of people who might not necessarily have a similar story, but there might have been other triggers, right? Where you ask yourself like who you are. And I myself even asked myself if I was even from this planet. I had always this kind of silence within. I really here. And obviously we have different levels of that as well. One is trauma, but the other one is potential and purpose, right? And so by having been through shit, I'm saying as well, there's always a paradigm you can shift on that, right? There's always so many different perspectives. There's never one truth around things. And no matter what you've experienced, there will be a deeper meaning, a purpose to that. And it invites you to get curious, to see also the different angles of the same situation, to find your truth in that. And that is also where your power lies, right? So sometimes there is this saying, I don't agree 100%, but I'd say at least 60 or 70%. It goes, the deeper your trauma, the deeper your purpose. So I wouldn't necessarily say that is 100% true, because it puts a condition on that, right? But as far as I know from my own journey, but also from clients then who come with me with their stories, I can say from the more than like 250, 300 people I've worked with through the last years, everyone who was given this desire to make big changes and shifts in the world, the visionaries, the paradigm shifters, if you feel that urge within you, I would bet my bum on that you have a story that might be a little bit extra compared to the majority of people, whatever your extra is. And that is what I mean by that, right? There's a reason why we experience these things, and it invites us to go deeper.
Absolutely. And I will say, when it comes to taking adversity to create a positive paradigm shift and share that ability to shift with the world. To that end, you have been very successful. So I wanted to commend you on that. I mean, it really shines through in the chapter, and the chapter has some deep moments and some disturbing things, and in a good way, though, the way that you flip the script. And I'm speaking specifically to the piece where you had that incident in Mexico. And I won't give too much away because you got to buy the book and you got to read the chapters. All of them are wonderful. But, the fact that you were like, let me not make this mean something, this incident, right? Yeah. And the ability to not wallow in the trauma or just revisit it and shut down, but to say, hey, I've had this amazing time, and I'm not going to let 5 minutes of somebody being inappropriate ruin my time. So anyway, not to say too much about that, but that was like, that really struck me. And then another piece that I've been speaking with the authors, Judith, like on these interviews, and it's been so interesting. The threads that kind of run through all of our chapters. And I'm looking because you and I actually share a similarity, because on page 108 here, you said, have you felt like the rainbow sheep of the family, the one that no one gets? Me too. Love that you're here. And guess what? You were never meant to fit in.
Right.
And in my chapter, I have the Dr. Seuss quote with the similar sentiment. It's like, and it takes us a while to realize this, but it's like, why fit in when you were born to stand out?
Yeah, I love that.
I think once we embrace that and we can really be unapologetically ourselves and stop conforming to the norm and stop twisting ourselves into a pretzel to fit in and be liked and accepted and go that people-pleasing route of never really being fully self-expressed. I mean, there's so much freedom in embracing that principle. And I love it that we share that in each of our chapters. So tell me a little bit about the process. As you were approached about this project through, I believe, your coach, right? Was it?
Yeah, it was. It was about
wrote,
Claire, who's also contributing a chapter here in this book.
Yes, Claire has chapter 1, and I am going to track her down to get her on an interview, and maybe we can even make that happen today, I hope. But yeah, so when you originally were approached about the project, what excited you about it? And tell me a little bit about your experience in the writing process.
How did I have to, it feels like it's ages ago while it was just a month ago, it's just so many things happening.
Yeah.
It was, how did I hear about that? Through Claire, obviously. And then, I mean, it's my 3rd book project. So I kind of knew how these things overall worked. That is why I was easily excited overall to go into another book project, because I enjoyed the other 2 I did before. Mm-hmm. And then hearing about the topic, right? The idea of leading with light. And that is, I think, one of the posts around the launch is where I stated why I feel this book is a bit different to other anthologies where people talk about turning their pain into purpose, or going from the hardship into the light kind of thing, while we all have this component as well. And that is one thing, obviously, what resonated with me. I do feel that with this book and the idea of the book and the movement, we take it the step further, because as far as I've read the book and all of the other chapters as well, I have seen that the purpose here is beyond sharing your own story, but it's really giving people something that they can work with right away in the book. There is not only so many gems within the chapters where you get, as a reader, takeaways to take action. It's not only about the inspiration and the motivation to understand, well, if they can do it, then I can do it, which is always great. But I'm a fan of taking action. Whoever says come to work with me already, they know nobody will get away without taking action. So to me, it was very important to have this element in the book and in the movement as well. And this is what I could feel also on top of the story sharing and the inspiration. And that was definitely 2 elements where I said, okay, I'm in, because that is what it is providing. Also, at the end of the chapter, there is something that will guide the reader to, if you love that, if you could resonate with that, and you want to go for a next step, just the first small thing. There is everywhere is something where people can keep on continuing on the journey. If somebody then wants to hire me at some point, they can do, but they don't have to. There is so many things that are provided that give value and that really give actionable steps for people to start changing their lives or improving in their business. If you look at my chapter, which is also a lot around business. So that is basically what made me resonate with the project and then come on board. And the writing process was wild, I must say. Probably that we have this documentary going. You saw that maybe? It was with Claire and then 2 other ladies, with Vicky and then with Carmen and me. We are all in there, and that is like very raw. So we did a vlog basically almost every week or every other week while we were writing and expressing ourselves. And it is about self-expression. So that is why I love that process, but also the idea of the documentary as well, as self-expression is a big part of my brand as well, and what I teach people to come into. Because when you experience adversity at such a deep level, like I have, for example, then it's not only about realizing, hey, I have to stop people pleasing and be my authentic self. Before you can get there, you first have to figure out, who the fuck am I if I'm not the person who I thought I am for like 30 years? And there's it's a total different process that comes before that. Even you may have realized, oh, I'm kind of people pleasing, or I am not my authentic self. But if you have no idea who you are or how that might feel like or look like, then it has another process attached to that, right? That you also need. And obviously then I'm going through these processes myself along my own evolution journey every time I'm growing and I'm taking quantum leaps. And that is what I have experienced through the writing process, like one next step as well. So anyone thinking about joining any of these, and I know there's a second volume of this book, right? I'm not sure if there's spots left. If yes, maybe a few.
We do have spots. Yes, there's spots are available. You can reach out to me if you have interest. I've been kind of announcing that while this book is a beautiful blue color, volume 2 is a gorgeous pink color. And it's Leading with Light volume 2. The cover is already designed. There are open availability for anyone that does want to share their message and mission through a chapter in Leading with Light. So light leaders, hit me up. Let's have a conversation about this. It's so worthwhile. And as you can see, Judith and I have taken a lot of great things away from being a part of this project. And I'm so excited for the documentary. Do you want to announce when that's coming out, Judith?
The first 2 episodes and the introduction have been released. Okay. That is on YouTube. Okay. It's called Baptism of Fire. So you can either Google that, or you can hop over to Claire's account, Claire Williamson. But you could also see, like, there's the trailers. My episode is coming next, like within the next 2 to 3 days somehow. I think over the weekend it might come. You can see the trailers on my Instagram or also on my Facebook. If you just put Judith Junke, just my name, you find me on Instagram and on Facebook. And in the feed, you can see the trailers. And that is where you also find where the links take you. And that gives you really raw behind the scenes information, I'd say, about the process, including all of the highs, but also including all of the lows. And that is what transformation and growth just looks like, right? It's not all sunshine and rainbows. Coming back to the rainbow sheep.
There we go. Yeah.
So that is basically how it felt, but also why I joined and why I felt there's purpose connected here, right? And there's really a message that we can convey beyond sharing our own story.
Got it. And apologies for the mispronunciation at the top of the interview. Junke. I need to learn to say it right. I'm so sorry. It's like had in my head. And I've been checking with everyone because I want to make sure I'm getting it right. And for whatever reason, I thought I had yours in the bag, but clearly I needed to channel my German. So sorry about that. Okay, wonderful. Now, and you kind of already spoke to this, Judith, but if you were to be able to distill down and encapsulate the main theme or takeaway that you want your readers to come away, or a transformation for the reader of your chapter, what would that look like?
So the title of my chapter is Purpose Frequency, and then Creating Success the Joyful Way. And underneath, I'm outlining 5 different paradigms, how one can do that, things that need to shift because we are in this new energetic age. And that also shifts not only how we operate on a personal level, but also how we create business. And that is basically already the core of the transformation process I'm guiding people through these 5 paradigms, diving into, as I always say, it's like the main mantra. My clients, I think they if I wake them 3 a.m., they can recite that sentence. I keep saying, your business is an expression of your soul's purpose.
Mhm.
And for you to be able to express that, you have that purpose element, you have the self-expression element, and it's all about what does this new earth or these higher vibrational times that we're all in, what does that mean with regards to how we do business? And that has to do with how we connect to people. How do people make purchasing decisions? How do they decide who to connect with? There's new elements with this evolution of the whole world that come into play. So I'm talking a lot about our human side, that is like the old world, if you want, or if people talk about the 3D world. And then we have the brain and your mind and your thoughts, and you have your body and your nervous system, and you have your emotions. But the new elements that are coming is your soul side, and that is like your higher self, your widened consciousness, the different level of creation and even co-creation, even with the universe, right? The way we do all of these things, there's connecting to these. I wouldn't say, because they're not new, right? We've just forgotten about them. And the transformation process, or the main takeaway, is if you are a light leader and you are one of these visionary people, you felt like that rainbow sheet, nobody gets you, kind of that thing, but you also have that drive within you to say, I want to change something in the world, I want to really lead a movement here. Then that might have been the missing element that you hadn't seen yet to understand. You do not have to fit in the way business is done, like the old business strategies, where you get a blueprint, where everything is cookie cutter, you go copy paste. That is over. That is old. And I'm opening up a way in there to show you how you can reverse engineering marketing, if you want, through your purpose and through you. That is the main transformation process that I'm outlining in there, where you need to start and what you need to look at. And then there's it is woven into my own story. And then there's small things that you can take away as well. And by the end, it leads you into that next step. If you said, oh, that is interesting, what would be a first step I'd take? And then it guides you to that. So that is basically the idea of how you can create business and success in a different way through you, using your purpose and the unique gifts and strengths that you have been given.
I love it. Thank you. So very well articulated. Wonderful. And I'm very excited for you to get your hard copies. Don't forget to do a video of you opening the box, because there's nothing like it in the world, because you're a writer, you've had other publications, but just, opening that box for the first time and having your hands on the tangible product of your creation and work. So thank you so much for joining me. Is there anything else you'd like to share with our viewers and listeners before we close today, Judith?
I can share already that in about 2 weeks, I'll be launching my podcast. And that is, so if you guys love the idea of doing business in your way, and you are feeling like a light worker, you are one of these spiritual people, but that really also want to change the world, you've discovered your new gifts, all of that, but you may not know exactly what that means with regards to putting it all together successfully, then that podcast might be for you. I'm running it with somebody else together, which is great. And it's called Awakened Entrepreneur Podcast and Revolution. So Awakened Entrepreneur Revolution. That's what it's all about.
Here's a volunteer right here. I'll come on the podcast.
Yes. Let's do that. Let's do that.
I will do it. I will absolutely do it. Well, Judith, this has been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for taking the time to join me for this interview, and congratulations on publishing our book. And we are just so excited. Little heads up too. I was just talking to Judith about this before we went live. We're going to be doing a giveaway probably starting next week on Instagram and Facebook, where you can actually put your hat in the ring to win a free copy of the book from whoever your favorite author happens to be. We'll all be running it simultaneously on our social media channels. So stay tuned for that. Judith, thank you so much again for being with me today. Have a wonderful evening. I know it's towards the late afternoon there in Germany now. So thank you. And please share this from my page with your audience and listeners so that we can continue to get the word out.
I will do so. Thank you so much for having me, Jess. That was a pleasure.
It was my absolute pleasure. Take care. Thanks, Judith. Bye-bye.
Bye.